Buongiorno, buonasera, benvenuti amici. Welcome, my friends. My name is Vincenzo and welcome to my channel. Well, welcome again. For those of you who are joining me for the first time, welcome, welcome. Please enjoy. This is fountain pen therapy for all of you. For those who are returnees, well, welcome again. I'm continuing my exploration of fountain pens, and one of the challenges of any fountain pen collector is to try to find little gems that are not well known or are not renowned or are not the most popular, and that are affordable. I mean, it's nice to be able to buy a Leonardo Ficina Italiana Momento Zero Grande with a, primary manipulation of $500 with a 14-karat gold nib. And if you can afford it, that's $500, $600, $700 Canadian. Well, all the better. But, what about finding a pen at $20, at $25, or even $100? A pen that can excite you, a pen that can feel comfortable in your hands, a pen that can write properly, and can provide you with what I believe is fountain pen therapy on a daily basis. And that's, I think, the challenge for any fountain pen collector. And, well, I'm looking around, and I propose to review today, perhaps, another one of those pens that may have made my list. I'm not sure yet. This is the Kanwrite Heritage Kingfisher multicolored barrel. We'll take a close look at it. I'll tell you what I like about it, what I don't like about it, and whether or not it does provide me any fountain pen therapy. Please stay tuned. Okay, so here I'm back with this beautiful pen. One of the things that attracted me to this pen when I was hunting, as so to speak, and I found this on Etsy, and I think it's no longer available on Etsy, but I found it also on sale on eBay, and I will try to provide the details in the description below where you can purchase it, is this multicolor barrel or resin finish. I was intrigued by it. We have a dark blue here, a lighter blue on the main barrel, a beautiful gold resin as a cap, topped off with this red faceted, multifaceted, I believe, or almost round, as a matter of fact. It looks faceted, but it's roundish. Finial, okay? As you can see there. I got to tell you, when I took a look at these colors, I said, what a wild combination. Even wilder is if I can find an ink that kind of has all these colors in it. I think I did, but that's for the writing sample. So here's the outside of this pen. I think it is absolutely gorgeous. That combination is just beautiful. I really, really like it. Now, let's take a look at some of the other features on the outside. First of all, it's got some gold trimmings. It's got a small ring here at the bottom finial, a big band, gold band with the name of the Kanwrite inscribed on it, just Kanwrite. Then look at this gorgeous clip. Now, talk about clips. People really get excited over clips. I think I mentioned one of my replies to one of the comments that I don't really use these clips on me, but when it comes time to slip this pen in a loop in a pen wallet, for example, sometimes if that that clip doesn't cooperate, you have difficult time slipping it in. With this one, you won't have that. First of all, it's got beautiful spring, or it's very flexible, and look how huge that eyedrop is with the Kanwrite written all over it. I think that that's one of the prettiest clips that I've seen. Rounded, very nice. It's got a nice shape. It lends character to the pen. Take a look at that. So hats off to Kanwrite. I really like that clip. So that's the outside of the pen. Now, one of the things that I noticed, and I'll mention it right away, and maybe that's one of the negatives, is that this pen has this awful plasticky smell that you also smell on some of the noodlers' pens, I believe. You know, it is what it is. It doesn't smell pretty. Okay, so, but it's not as bad actually as some of the noodlers' pens. Now, in terms of how many turns for it to uncap, that's 1, that's 2, 3. So almost 2 3/4, 3 to uncap. And the uncapping reveals, first of all, let's talk about this nib. We'll see what the verdict is on this nib. It's a Kanwrite extra fine or fine extra ultra flex nib. It's a Kanwrite. You can see it's got one major slither there, and we'll see how this pen performs. In terms of the feed, maybe some of you can help me. It looks familiar. It looks really looks like an ebonite feed, but I must tell you, I'm not sure it is. I think it's plastic. Ebonite feeds are usually very nice, but they can be a real problem if you got to heat set them and etc., and then they leak. So, and I've experienced that in noodlers' pens especially, and some of the other Indian manufactured pens where you just can't get them to set and they leak all over the place. I hope this is not one of those pens. One thing that I must mention in terms of how the nib fits into the cap, and that is in that cap, you see that sealing inner cap there that's supposed to seal the nib and keep it from drying. Now, I noticed it's not a perfect seal. Now, I'm not sure whether or not there's actually air going in there or if the seal is tight. It doesn't look like it is, just because I could see that there's a little bit of still a little bit of space there, but I'm not a professional resin manufacturer, etc. So I wouldn't be able to tell you. I just hope, well, we'll test it over time, and that's the only way to tell whether or not this pen will keep from drying. But at least there's some effort there. Okay. In terms of its filling mechanism, if you can go back, well, you unscrew the top, this bottom finial, and there is reveals a plastic filling mechanism, which for the time being slides very nicely. I've got an impression it's probably been lubricated. I find that the space for the filling space is a little bit less than one would find in some other piston fillers. So I'm not sure you'll be able to get, an enormous amount of ink. You're not going to get the full barrel, obviously. You're just going to get it as of there. But I would venture to say, I haven't measured it. I would venture to say it's probably a lot more ink than you would get in a international converter. It also has a very nice ink window there that can give you an indication of how filled that pen is. I like the transparent part here. It shows you the interior of that pen, which is always nice. I got some gold trimmings there, 2 rings there, and I've got a gold ring there. I don't see an O-ring anywhere around here. In terms of the threads, you can feel the threads. They're not as smooth as I've seen in other pens or some other pens, but it doesn't interfere with the writing. The size of that bottom part is very, very comfortable. As you can see, it need not be posted. It's got some nice weight to it. I got a feeling the resin is a little heavier, so it's not a really cheap plasticky light resin. There's a cap. It caps just beautifully, and I can tell you that this pen gives you just a well-balanced finish here, which I suspect will write very, very nicely for somebody who would like to post that pen. And take a look at it. Isn't it nice and juicy? I think this is just a gorgeous pen for the price, and we'll review that at the end and see whether or not what kind of a rating I give it in terms of value. There you have the outside and the interior. Now the real test is in the writing sample. I think I've chosen a very nice ink for this pen. We'll see how it performs and give you my final conclusions. Stay tuned. Okay, we're back for the writing sample. First things first, in terms of the ink we're going to be using today is from Van Diemen's The Night Collection. It's the ink known as Shooting Star. It is a shimmering ink, as you could see. The glitter is at the bottom right now. And this is what it looks like. I thought that perhaps I get in that ink the gold, the blue, and the red. And I'm going to go for it. We'll see. It is a shimmering ink. It can be difficult, but I think this is just an absolutely gorgeous ink. So that's the ink that we will be using for the writing sample. As far as the notebook is concerned, this is my trusty Tomoe River white pages, A5 52 gram paper from Sakei TP and made in Japan, 5mm grid. We can go right to it and see how this writing sample and what kind of results it gives us. Okay, so one thing I need to apologize, I made a mistake on the nib. I was convinced that this nib was a fine or even smaller, but it's not. To my great surprise, I had forgotten that it came in different sizes, extra fine, fine, medium, and broad, and I ordered a broad. So I've got a flex broad nib. So I don't know what I'm going to be doing. I'm not a flex guy, but we'll see how this pen writes. So let's cap it because I really like the feel when I cap this pen, and let's see what kind of results it gives me. So this is the Kanwrite. Oh my gorgeous me. This is a gusher, ladies and gentlemen. Kanwrite Heritage Kingfisher. I've got a feeling that it's so much of a gusher that it may be too much. Kanwrite Heritage Kingfisher. The nib is a Kanwrite Broad Ultraflex. Okay, well, there you go. You see, it's not performing. It came out like a gusher, and then it's kind of blocking me here. So that's a little disappointing because is it the glitter? Is it the ink that's kind of trapped in that plastic feed that maybe is not conducive to glitter? So there you have it. What I thought would have been a great writing sample is not turned out to be great. So let me stop this. Let me find out what the problem is, and we'll get right back. Okay, so we're back. I flushed this pen out. Now, what I wanted to show you, and I just hope my camera cooperates here, is that you see those slits were full of glitter when I washed this nib out, or this feed. And I'm hoping I did a good enough job. There's still some remnants of water there, but especially in that main channel, but also in those grooves, it was impregnated with, and I'm still seeing kind of remnants of that glitter in that Shooting Star ink. And maybe that was, in hindsight, that was a wrong idea. I should never have used it. I did flush out the pen. I removed the nib, flushed it out nicely. So let me fill it up with a good flowing ink, and I'll be right back. Okay, We're on the fly here. I filled it with this Konpeki Iroshizuku ink, which I believe is one of the best flowing inks on the market. So I'm going to give it every chance it deserves, and we'll see what the verdict is. And is it the nib? Is it the ink? As you could see, that ink has got an enormous amount of glitter. It was nice. Now, was it the glitter and the shimmering particles that prevented this pen from performing as it should? Perhaps. Or perhaps the nib needs to be worked out. If it does, well, I will end my review there and do what I can with this nib later. So let's start all over again here. Kanwrite Heritage Kingfisher. Now, so far it started out the same way as I did with the other ink, gushing out, perhaps even too much. And we'll see whether or not it stops halfway through, as it did with the other ink. The nib is a Kanwrite Broad Ultra Flex. One, two, three. Very gushing. So far, it's fairly constant to the point where it's overflowing, in my view. This could be a messy pen. There we go. Now, in terms of flex, and again, I'm not a flex person, and I wish I could be able to give you a better, but put it this way, so far it's giving me a very consistent flex, and with no hard start as compared to what the other ink was doing. So frankly, I truly believe it's the ink that was preventing this pen from doing what it's supposed to do. Otherwise, it is, I gotta tell you, buttery smooth, and so far very constant. So my rating, in terms of design, I'm going to give this pen a 10 on 10. I really like the design of this pen. The combination of the resin, the clip, the gold trimmings, the finial on top, which sits there like a crown. I think it's very, very nicely designed. In terms of the build, I don't like the filling mechanism. It's totally plasticky. I'm not even sure I can take this pen apart. Maybe I can, but I'm not going to venture to do it. There is a sense that it's not the greatest quality or the greatest build, but you know, the quality of the resin seems to be there. So I'm a little bit unsure of this, but I cannot, just my own feeling, I cannot give it more than an 8.5 on build quality. In terms of the nib, I got to tell you, this is a gushing nib, maybe too much. So I'm going to give it a 9.0, just because I'm not sure that I can control the ink flow. And if you have a messy nib, then it can create issues. In terms of value, well, this pen, both on, I think on Etsy it was selling for $38 US, and on eBay it's presently selling for $39. So in terms of value, I would give it 10 on 10. Is this going to be a go-to pen? I think the verdict is still out. I like the way it's writing. I like the smooth quality of it, but I'm not sure I'll be able to control the flow in this pen to the point where it's gushing all over the place. So verdict's still out as to whether or not it's a go-to pen. Well, there you have it. So don't let my misadventures with that ink or that original ink influence you in any way, because you can get a medium and a fine. I got a feeling in this nib would probably be better than a broad in hindsight, because the broad is just too big for that flex nib and it's just gushing out. It's my fault. So I think that this pen deserves a look. For $38, folks, I think this is a gem. I really do. So there you have it. I hope you enjoyed it. You saw me on the fly. Therapy for all of us, folks. Please subscribe. Take a look at my description for any of the details. If you have any questions, comments, please don't hesitate, and I will try to get back to you if the comment requires a response. Ciao ragazzi. Ciao.